Welcome back to Whispers of Turkish Stars. Today we're stepping into a subject that always stirs curiosity and, admittedly, a touch of mystery: the delicate, much-debated bond between Erkan Merrick and Hazal Sabesai. You've been asking for clarity, you've been replaying old interviews, you've been dissecting every glance in silence, and tonight we'll sift through what's public, what's whispered, and what might truly lie at the heart of their connection. If you live for stories from the Turkish entertainment world, make sure you're subscribed to Whispers of Turkish Stars, tap that red button, turn on the bell, and settle in. What we're about to explore isn't just gossip, it's a tapestry woven from chemistry, career strategy, and the complicated business of having your private life unfold in the spotlight. Erkan Merrick and Hazal Sabesai, two names that can electrify timelines the moment they share a headline. Their pairing has fueled conversations for years. There are moments when everything feels certain and inevitable, followed by stretches when silence swallows the rumor mill, only for speculation to return louder than before. Why the whiplash? Why the push and pull? The answer, like most truths in this industry, is layered. And that's precisely where we come in, to walk through facts and patterns, reflect on industry realities, and consider the motives that might explain the on and off nature of what people insist on calling a romance. To understand the storm, we must revisit the first thunder. Their spark was born in Adini Sinkoy, where they embodied Omer and Zara, a pair whose love story ping-ponged between restraint and confession, between sacrifice and stubborn pride. It wasn't just good acting. It felt like lived-in emotion. The way Erkan softened when he looked at Hazal in character, the rhythm of their dialogue that sometimes broke past scripted lines, the quiet pauses that seemed to carry a private language, these were the scenes fans replayed late at night, convinced they weren't merely watching portrayals but glimpses of something unspoken behind the camera. And, of course, the press paid attention. The first wave of whispers arose not long after the series took off, building slowly, insistently, until curious eyes trailed them everywhere. Time did its work. Sightings surfaced: a shared table that looked too warm for simple friendship, a quiet exit from a gathering when cameras were aimed elsewhere, a laugh that seemed to reveal more than an inside joke. Friends hinted carefully, never confirming, never denying, just nudging the narrative enough to keep everyone guessing. For a while, their proximity felt so assured that people began to daydream about the future, a public confirmation, perhaps a moment of proclamation, something fans could hold up and say, "We knew it all along." Then came the abrupt chills, reports of distance, of priorities shifting, of a cooling climate around them. The cycle repeated more than once. Intensely close, then curiously apart. The dance continued, and no one could tell if it was a rhythm they chose or a beat imposed by circumstance. That's where the conversation about motives becomes unavoidable. When we say hidden motive, we're not conjuring conspiracies, we're speaking about practical reasons that might shape how two artists navigate feelings in public. One of the strongest? Career. Both Erkan and Hazal are hardworking, ambitious, and widely admired. Their names command attention, their projects are tracked across continents. A public relationship can be a magnet, connecting audiences to new shows and feeding interviews with a narrative hook. Yet it can also overshadow the work. When love eclipses craft, the craft can suffer. In an industry calibrated to metrics and momentum, attention that drifts too far from performances, scripts, and new roles may be a cost neither one is eager to pay. Cultural texture matters too. Even as modernity reshapes norms, tradition still hums in the background of public life. People want to see stability, they want things to make sense. If a couple seems inconsistent, open 1 minute, private the next, the dialogue around them can harden into pressure. Why no clarity? What's the plan? Are they serious? Those questions pile up like pebbles that become a weight. For two young stars, the rush to define every dynamic can be suffocating. Maintaining mystery, or better yet, protecting ambiguity, may not be avoidance at all, it might be self-preservation. There's also the intensely human urge to protect privacy. For Erkan and Hazal, ordinary moments don't stay ordinary, a coffee becomes a statement, a shared laugh turns into a headline. Imagine the pressure of having your most fragile emotions treated like public property. They could have decided early on that whatever existed between them would survive only if they guarded it, if they kept a portion of their hearts out of reach from cameras and commentary. Ambiguity, then, becomes a shield.
Share what you must, hide what you can, and hope that the parts left unspoken are the ones that last.
And while we're here, we can't ignore the role of strategy. Representation teams are not amateurs at narrative control. There is timing to every reveal in this business.
A sudden confirmation can jolt the audience, just as a sudden goodbye can suck all the air from a room.
But a slow burn? A trickle of glimpses, hints that flare up and dim down?
That can keep viewers engaged for months, even years.
It's the balancing act: tell enough to stay relevant, withhold enough to remain intriguing.
It's probable that Erkan and Hazal, together with their teams, learned to ride that line, protecting their private decisions while allowing the public to stay fascinated.
The media's tendency to magnify also shapes perception. When on-screen chemistry is that perfect, the leap from performance to reality becomes tempting for anyone watching.
The longing for Omer and Zara to be reflected in Erkan and Hazal isn't just about fandom, it's a deeply human wish to see fiction anchor itself in real life.
Sometimes that wish amplifies ordinary moments into proof, filling gaps with assumptions.
The result is a narrative that might not be entirely fabricated but is often larger than the facts sitting quietly behind it. Still, we have to address the contradictions. There were seasons when they seemed inseparable, and others when a wall rose between them overnight.
Was that distance a cooling of connection, a reset to guard their peace, or a deliberate step back to reclaim the spotlight for their work?
It could be any of these, or all of them at different times. Two people can try to make something delicate survive and still find themselves out of rhythm with schedules, expectations, or even their own evolving selves.
The truth might not be grand drama.
It might be two hearts that kept meeting at the intersection of affection and caution, putting care above spectacle. A recent theory has gained traction among those who've watched them from the beginning, that there was a real bond in the past, genuine, warm, perhaps even transformative.
But that today what endures is a deep friendship and strong professional respect. Both have grown since Adini Sinkoi.
They've tested themselves, taken new roles, and faced life beyond a single iconic pairing. In that growth, it's plausible that the spark that once flared has softened into something sturdy and kind. In the blurred world of celebrity, where friendly breakfasts and team dinners get mistaken for declarations of love, it's easy to confuse loyalty with longing.
What if the truth is that they carry each other in gratitude, not in romance?
That possibility doesn't diminish what fans felt watching Omer and Zara fight for each other. If anything, it elevates the achievement. Two actors created a love so convincing that viewers keep searching for it in candid photos and private schedules.
Perhaps the goal now is simpler: to preserve a bond that isn't obligated to meet anyone's expectations but their own.
To share support when it matters, to clap from the audience without needing the camera to pan for confirmation, and to let the memory of a once electric spark become a quiet, sustaining glow. There's an unavoidable weight placed on public figures in their position.
Perfection is projected onto them. Audiences want consistency and clarity, but life rarely grants either.
A misstep gets looped, a misunderstood sentence becomes a narrative for months.
With that reality, who wouldn't want to maintain control over what the world sees? Guarding the edges of their story might be less about manipulation and more about survival.
They've earned the right to decide what to bring out into the sun and what to keep behind a curtain. So when we ask, what is the truth behind Erkan and Hazal, we might have to accept that the closest thing to truth is a collage.
Real chemistry, yes. Measured publicity, yes. A commitment to privacy, absolutely.
And an evolution that many relationships, celebrity or not, undergo over time: the reshaping of love into respect, the transformation of intense connection into something calmer, steadier, less vulnerable to storms. The hidden motive becomes far less sinister and far more human, choosing peace over noise, dignity over spectacle, and craft over controversy. Look closely at how they speak about each other when asked.
There's careful warmth, a steadiness that doesn't reach for melodrama. Listen to the pauses: they're not awkward, they're protective.
If you read between the lines, you'll hear a boundary as much as an affection. We value what we had, we support what we are, and we won't let the world define it for us. That decision can frustrate anyone hunting for a headline, but it also suggests maturity.
Real life doesn't owe us a reveal.
Sometimes the door stays closed because that's the only way anything inside can remain intact.
Of course, rumors won't stop. A shared event will reignite debate, a new project collaboration will send imagination sprinting. And perhaps there will be a day when they surprise everyone one way or another. But if we measure only by confirmation or denial, we miss the subtler truth that has been in view for a long time, that they carry a rare kind of bond, one that doesn't need to be explained to be understood. Maybe that's why, year after year, the intrigue doesn't fade. People can sense authenticity, even when it refuses to become a headline. And so we circle back to the beginning. The romance everyone talks about might be less of a puzzle and more of a timeline where early closeness met reality, where reality met responsibility, and where responsibility met the desire for a quiet life beyond the frame. You could call it strategy. You could call it self-care. You could call it two artists deciding that silence is kinder than spectacle. Any way you name it, it fits, a complex, human truth in a world that prefers simple stories. As we wrap this deep dive, remember that speculation will always run faster than fact, and that's part of the game. But respect can live alongside curiosity. Erkan Merrick and Hazal Subasai don't owe anyone a tidy ending, even if they gave us one on screen. Off-screen, they're allowed to be flexible, protective, inconsistent, or unwavering, whatever their hearts require. Our job, as fans and observers, isn't to demand an answer but to appreciate the work that brought us here and the people who continue to grow beyond a single chapter. Tell us your theory. Do you believe there's still a quiet ember glowing between them, or has their connection settled into the kind of friendship that outlasts storms? Drop your thoughts below, we read everything, and your take shapes the conversations we bring to the channel. If this exploration felt insightful, entertaining, or just comforting to revisit, show some love by liking the video, sharing it with fellow fans, and subscribing to Whispers of Turkish Stars. Your support keeps us going, helping us bring you stories that honor both the magic we see on screen and the human hearts behind it. Until next time, keep your eyes open, keep your mind open, and remember, sometimes the most honest stories are the ones that whisper rather than shout.